welcome back to the 13th Destiny podcast with Magnum. My co-host Danielle will be out for today. She'll be back next week. She had some stuff she had to take care of in San Diego, and she would not be able to be on the show today. I've got a guest standing by on the phone, and we'll be introducing him here in just a few minutes. And now let's give our normal weekly shout out to the Holiday Inn University Plaza Hotel right here in Bowling Green, Kentucky at 1021 Wilkerson Trace. Been doing business with them for almost 20 years. Great place to stay. Got a great restaurant there for breakfast buffet or in the evening. And also they are adjacent to the Sloan Convention Center owned by the city of Bowling Green, Kentucky, which they manage. And now also Oak Grove Racing and Gaming down in Oak Grove, Kentucky near Fort Campbell, Kentucky, home of the 101st Airborne, and Clarksville, Tennessee. And now, everybody, I would like to welcome Aaron Lee Johnson to the show.
Thank you, James. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I am glad to have you here today. Let's talk a little bit about you. You're an actor and a comedian. You said you got a new film coming out, if I read all that correctly in the stuff you sent me.
Yes, there's a new film that's coming out that I'm starring in. It's my first role in it's a mini-series. It was supposed to be a feature film.
Okay.
But it was 3 hours long, so they made it into a mini-series instead. I don't know if it's going to be on Hulu, Netflix, or where it's going to be on. Still in post-production. It's been in post-production for about a year.
Okay.
And it's called Where Sweet Dreams Die.
Where Sweet Dreams?
And it is a phenomenal movie. It's a great movie. If anybody ever looks up this movie, it's a great story about an Italian restaurateur who gets his restaurant stolen by a Middle Eastern immigrant.
Oh.
And this film from LA Times says that it's a historic film already.
Okay, so is this...
I am very excited for this.
Awesome.
So I have a very good role at the most intense part of the movie also.
That's wonderful. Can I ask a question? Is that based on reality or is that a fictional movie?
It's a fictional.
Okay, so it's fictional. Okay, all right. Just I wanted to check in on that because it sounds awesome. Sounds like an awesome film. So how long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business for about 8 years.
8 years, okay. And this is your first. And this
originally, that was I think 2016, so it has been about 8 years.
Okay. And so this is your first really big role, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of neat how I got the role, and I don't know if there's any actors out there listening to it. But what they did is they cast me as an extra to play in a restaurant. And I said, okay, and then I kind of put up a fuss, so they gave me a role to just be a silent, like a patron at a bar. And what happened was they called me in a year later to do post-production to film more of the scene. And I said, hey, since you're calling me in, do me a favor and give me speaking lines in the movie. And they said, absolutely. And the rest is history. I got speaking lines. I was able to get dialogue and everything. I'm not going to surprise you with what happens, but it is a very, very emotional scene.
That's awesome.
That
Well, I wouldn't ask anyone to give away anything that doesn't need to be given away. Before I've been around the business long enough to know about not doing that. And sometimes I could tell you back on some of my independent stuff, we've accidentally said some things we probably shouldn't have said, and you live and you learn, and you go, I probably shouldn't have told them that. But I totally when I interview someone, I totally don't ask them to put them on the spot about anything that needs not to be revealed prior to the film being released. Now obviously being made into a miniseries, and so you haven't heard anything really on where that's going just as of yet. Is that the case?
Well, the latest news was about 2 months ago. The director had emailed everybody, including me.
Okay.
And he had mentioned that the composers and the people that are doing the music for the film are putting the final touches on the film, and that it should be out shortly. But that was 2 months. That was about 2.5 months ago.
Yeah, well, that 2 months is not really that long in the business. Trust me, been there, done that. So let's hear a little bit about your background. So how did you obviously you say you've been in this part of the business for like 8 years, but what did you do beforehand? You were born and raised in Chicago, is that correct?
Yes, I wasn't born in Chicago. I was born in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Okay.
But I lived in Chicago since 1985.
Okay. So you were born in Minnesota.
For years. Originally, when I got into acting, I've always wanted to be an actor ever since I was young. I would watch movies and just be in awe of the actors in Hollywood and everything. And what happened was I finally was able to start acting in college. And I took improv, which is Theater 101, at a college called College of DuPage, which is Jim Belushi's alma mater.
Yes.
John Belushi.
John Belushi, yeah.
And I started to get in there. I actually took the improv twice. And I went along after that into the ensemble, which we did a lot of like Greek plays, like in Taking and things like that within theater. But I always had a feeling that I wanted to be in film. And that's really what I wanted to make my mark in, was film. So when I moved to Chicago, I got some headshots from an agent. She was able to advertise my headshot in a magazine for her advertisement, which gave me a boost to do that. And then also, I had picked up a lot of student film commercials, really minor roles and things like that over the years, but this is the first speaking role that I was able to get in a feature film. But my dream was always to be in a Hollywood movie, and the first movie I was in was Most Guys Are Losers.
Okay.
And that was with Andy Buckley, which these guys are great too. Keith David, and Miro Sorvino, Paul Sorvino. You know, these actors on the set are really just great people once you work with actors and you're able to do that. Unfortunately, Miro Sorvino, they just took her for the scene and then scurried her right off the set after she did the scene. She didn't really mingle with anybody. But it was great doing these movies. I was able to fulfill my dream. And, a couple of years ago, I said, what's next? I already fulfilled the dream that I had for my life to be in a Hollywood movie now.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And the beautiful part about being an actor, if somebody has a passion for being an actor, it's not only do you audition for parts and get parts to do movies, which is the thrill of it, that's the thrill and the passion of it. But also, when you do auditions and don't get cast, what happens is you just get the experience of that audition. You get a chance to act every audition. Mm-hmm. I might go through hundreds of auditions where I get maybe a handful of jobs. But it's just great to develop characters and get into other characters. Also go outside of your comfort zone and do stuff that normally you're a little offended by or a little like that's not me, and get out of your comfort zone and do that. It's always nice.
All right. Well, something else I was going to ask you about, so I looked through some stuff that you have and everything, and you also are a comedian outside of acting. What have you done as a comedian, or do you do like just regular stand-up, or do you do that put in like the acts, or how have you done that?
Well, for now, I mostly do observational comedy, which is I go through the styles and the forms of comedy. The observational is really what I started with. I read the book Stand Up by Jimmy Carter, which tells you how to do the observational. Mastering Stand Up is the book I read after that. And I got more into anecdotal and also sketches, which I have even 2 people sketches. I have a theater company in Chicago called Annoyance Theater, and on Tuesday at night, they have open stage where you're able to come and do sketches and everything. I'm just raring to go with that.
That's awesome.
But that's kind of what I do as far as like character development. I get into, some characters here and there. I remember I was on stage, or it was just for somebody that I know. I was doing a Joe Pesci. You find me funny? You find me funny? You think I'm a clown? One of those things. Mm-hmm. And the lady goes, I'm offended by that.
Really?
I said that was in a movie. What are you offended by? I comedy is actually starting to take a right turn into let's not be offensive, is what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people that are like big players in the Chicago industry, and they're saying the same thing, that they notice that comedy is making a right turn now from the toilet humor or whatever with Andrew Dice Clay and Sam Kinison and all that, the cussing and everything. Now it's turning into let's be G-rated now.
Now just me personally, I just think that's so messed up, because I've went to comedy shows in the past and stuff, and I'll just put this is a personal thing. I'm not going to pay money to not be offended. I hate to tell them this, but I got news. It doesn't bother me to go to a comedy show and be offended or be called out in the comedy show, because I've been there and I've done. And you know what? It was never a problem. I don't know. I don't know if maybe this younger generation just doesn't understand how that's supposed to work. But that's more fun the other way. I mean, get over it. But that's my personal opinion.
Well, as far as stand-up comedy, it's the absurdity of everyday life. And, when you point out the absurdity of everyday life and make fun of it,
right.
A lot of people are offended by reality.
Right.
They're offended by just the reality of stepping outside of what their own world they think they are, and they find out what reality is, or somebody makes a joke about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an amazing thing to watch these young people. But I don't know. So the only thing, when I see young people, it's like, okay, TikTok, video games, and college. That's what I'm going to
Oh, my.
That's kind of it. You see young people, all the young people, that's what it is.
So I guess that's something else I'll ask. So I guess if you see maybe older people in the crowd, do you do it a little differently with the older people compared to the younger people? That's an interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to kind of scout out the crowd.
Okay.
Even before you go on, you got to know who's in the audience.
Okay.
You got to know everything about all the demographics.
Right.
You know, are they older? Are they younger? What race are they? Are they college students? Are they business people?
Very good.
Are they car stations? You got to kind of scope out and find out who it is. And then, as a comedian, you have master lists of jokes and routines. And you just kind of go to the routine. If it's young people, college students, you go to that list of TikTok, video games, and college students. And if you talk about investments, they're not going to know what you're saying. Or if you talk about stick-shift cars, they're not going to know what you're saying.
So it's kind of like a...
Stuff like that. But older people know about that.
Right. So you have to be kind of adaptive, I guess is the word I guess I would use with your audience.
It is very important for a comedian to be adaptive to the audience and to grab. What the main thing you do as a comedian is find commonality with everybody in a joke. So if I sit there and make a joke about ham radios, there's only maybe one person in the audience that even knows what that is.
Right. Right, I would. That's ironic. It's funny.
Yeah, you gotta encompass something that everybody knows. Everybody knows about the DMV,
right?
Or everybody knows who the president is, or everybody knows who, or knows what a bar, like going to a bar, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's commonalities that everybody knows about, and that's what you need to stick to be a successful comedian, to stick with the commonalities everybody knows about, everybody can relate to.
Love it.
Yep.
So had you always planned this maybe in your life? Like you said you always wanted to be an actor, but it's taken you...
No, what happened is I'm glad you asked that question. There's a very good answer.
Okay.
What happened was when there was a strike, the strike was like a year ago, but it lasted for 8 months, and I wasn't able to get good. I stress good. There's a lot of amateur filmmakers that I didn't really work well with, but a lot of the good productions, Hollywood productions, just shut down.
Right.
And there wasn't really good acting jobs during the strike, so I just got on stage and just started doing characters and performing comedy, and the rest is history. I just keep keep doing it. I try to juggle all these careers, all the stuff I do.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's what happened. Is during the strike, comedy is great, okay, because you're given a lot of chances to perform with comedy. You could go to 3 open mics or get into 3 shows a night and perform for like a week. You could do 21 times you could perform.
Wow.
With a movie, like a Hollywood movie, they'll cast you like every 6 months to a year if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't come up very often, especially in Chicago. It's not really a big Hollywood town where they keep coming to Hollywood anymore. I don't know if the tax incentives changed or anything else.
I'm pretty sure that's probably part of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't come to town very often. So, and I love to perform. That's what I love to do. There's a lot of comedians that like to write. There's a lot of comedians that like to do the business side, but some of them don't like to perform. That's the worst part of the job is performing. And fortunately for me, the best part of the job for me is to perform. Get up in front of a audience to be able to put on a show, make people laugh.
That's awesome. So how many shows a week have you done? You said you could do up to 21. Have you ever done that many?
I had a goal a couple months ago to do 90 shows in 90 days.
Oh, wow.
And,
nice.
Or not 90 shows, I'm sorry, 90 open mics.
90 open mics, okay.
Because that's a lot easier to arrange. You just go up to the open mic sign up and you're there.
And of course your
show is a little more difficult. But I went maybe I think it was six days into it, and I was chronicling everything, and then you know what happened?
What happened?
Life happened.
Right.
Life happened that I wasn't able to continue.
Well, maybe it's a goal. Maybe it's a goal that you can do and come back around again. But that's an awesome goal. I couldn't even. Wow. But that would obviously, the more open mics you're doing, obviously you would get your name out there more.
Yeah, and also I wanted to do like all the open mics on the north side of Chicago. And when you do that, because there's a lot of comedians that just go to one open mic, and if I did like all the open mics on the north side, I would know like most of the comedians in Chicago.
Nice.
So that's it was a way for me to network or say, hey, I know you, I remember you, or because you run into comedians from other nightclubs,
right?
The Laugh Factory or Zanies or whoever, they're all performing everywhere, and you just keep running into them and say, hey, I remember you.
Exactly.
Kind of like a camaraderie, kind of like just a social thing when you share like a hobby or you share maybe, I don't know if I call it a profession with me, but when you share something in common,
right?
Have that commonality with other comedians, and it makes it very worthwhile and enjoyable.
Yeah. Sounds like, not to put you on the spot, but because I don't know that off the top of my head either without looking it up, but do you have a rough idea about how many comedy locations are in the Chicago area? I know it's a pretty big city, so.
I have a list. There's a running list on Linktree that you can, anybody can, find a major city on Linktree of open mic comedy.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
I have it pinned on my Facebook of Chicago. And I have a pin so I can look at it at any time. But it's a huge list of I'd say probably 60 open mics. It lists, it separates everything by day.
Okay.
So you can just go to the day and say, okay, here's 10 open mics right here. And it just shows you the times and everything like that. At the last minute, you can grab an open mic if you want to.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's the resource that I use when I'm able to find the open mic. Is the Linktree open mics for the city. And I'm starting to get invitations from New York.
Next question I was going to ask you about other locations.
Yeah, the only thing is I talked to a comedian probably about a month ago, and he made a road trip. He was going to go to Tennessee and he was trying to like locate bars along the route, along the highway, all the way down Tennessee, and set up gigs to go for like a week or two to just hit all these bars and all this stuff. And I said, that's pretty logical, because nobody wants to pay your airfare to fly you out.
Oh, no.
Either Tennessee or New York City, even. They don't want to, unless you're like a movie star, a big movie.
Oh, yeah, you got to be pretty big to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay for your own airfare or whatever, but if you were to make a route from Chicago to New York and develop maybe 40 gigs along the way, you're paying for it. You're paying yourself, too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so what? Well, see, I don't live that far from the Nashville scene, music and everything else. So I'm about an hour outside of Nashville. So I know there's some comedy clubs in Nashville. But I wasn't aware that it was big enough for you to like route out through Tennessee. Apparently, I missed something on that one, so I just learned something new.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can do that. That makes it worth your while.
Yeah.
You can pay for the trip and then pay yourself also for doing like a road trip and hitting the bars along the way wherever you go.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay.
That's like something to do.
Do you have anything that you're trying to work on currently as far as the acting part, or trying to get any additional? Since I know you got this new stuff that's coming up, have you been working on that very much?
With what? You said the comedy?
No, the acting. I kind of got.
The acting. I'm always doing auditions all the time.
Always. Okay.
And it seems like after the strike, we still have like amateur filmmakers. I'm talking about filmmakers that are so amateur they don't have anything. They don't have like anybody working for them. They just want to take a camcorder and film you walking down the street or something. And a lot of these places don't pay. And usually, my the way that I see it is, if they're not going to pay, they're not professional. And you get like directors like George Lucas, you get Spielberg, you get Scorsese. I'm kind of going on the extreme end, but I've never known them not to pay actors. And they are professional. That's who you want to work with. People that treat you good and pay you and everything. A lot of the free stuff is good when you're starting as an actor. Maybe your first year, you want to get a reel together, so you want to do free stuff in exchange to get that footage.
Right.
That's something that you do, but after the first year or two, you've got to kind of move on and move on and start working towards something that's more paid or something more prestigious.
Yeah, I totally understand. I've got some people in what I call my extended entertainment family that I've worked with in the past, and they'll work with me and stuff if I wanted. I don't really do anything anymore, I'll just be honest, or I don't really do that part of the business because I'm doing other stuff now. But I've got some that, as I say, are in my extended entertainment family, and I can tell you right now, there's one that she moved to Florida, and she no longer does anything except for paid stuff. And she started out in Nashville. I met her in Nashville years ago. She'd done some work with me, but yeah, I totally understand that. And then the problem, and I'll relate from the other side of the independence and stuff, because I was basically independent. Unless you get a lot of funding on independence, it's very hard to get people and pay and stuff. So I mean, it's a catch-22 in a way. It's kind of the whole damned you do, damned you don't thing. But yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, because once you start getting especially if you start getting Hollywood things, you definitely don't want to go backwards. I totally understand that. So that's pretty cool that you brought that up, because it's something that I don't get to talk about a lot. So I really like the fact that you brought that up. And some people say, well, I don't understand why I've got to pay. Well, I don't know. Well, this guy's getting paid now, so maybe you should understand that you need to be more professional because he's more professional, or she, whatever. And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, at some point you're going to have to pay people. Yeah. I mean, it might be fine, and you say you're a brand new filmmaker, independent, first couple of years, and maybe you pull in a few people here and there. But at some point, if you're still doing it, you're going to have to pay for what you get. And yeah, I get it.
The other alternative also too is eventually you'll want to get an agent. I've had an agent before. Unfortunately, she did not work for me.
Okay.
She didn't get me jobs, but which isn't her job. really. Usually, you got to kind of give her jobs to negotiate first, and then she'll kind of give you jobs. But you got to kind of do that. But the agents, when somebody says, I want to cast you, and you don't talk about pay, if you have an agent, you just refer them to your agent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Say, hey, talk to my agent.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, you don't want to pay? Forget you.
Yeah.
Because they get commission on what you...
Oh, yeah, absolutely, they do. Yeah.
So...
And of course, the more you get with an agent, the better it is for both of you, especially bigger projects. Obviously, yeah. I'm talking.
And the thing is, the trick with agents is when you get an agent, don't stop looking for work. Go out there and look for work. Currently, like anything,
right?
Just bring the work to your agent. Keep bringing work to her, and then she'll start saying, "Oh, he's bringing me work," or she or whatever is bringing me work. Then she'll start to give you auditions and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm well aware that some people...
It's kind of like a give and take with agents.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So you gotta kind of do some footwork.
And I'm well aware that some people get an agent and they just automatically think, well, that's going to be perfect. And then they, like you just brought up, they weren't doing their part of the work, so that doesn't work. It backfires.
Yeah, so I hooked this comedian up with my agent. And she hasn't got him a job in a year and a half, and I'm like, well, you got to get jobs and bring it to her to negotiate and to give her something, bring something to the table.
Yeah,
get her going.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem sometimes, especially maybe the earlier you're in the business, that a lot of people don't look at that bigger picture, and I've seen it, it happens, and it's like, it's like, well, what is your goal? And if this is your goal, this is the kind of agent you need, and if it's not your goal, this is the type you need. You got to look at that. I'm like, what's the goal? Because, really the goal is that you want to get your name out there, you want to be in the film, you want to be, and you want to get paid. End of the day, all those things play in. So I totally follow you. I'm sorry. What else did you say?
One other thing with an agent though is that they don't want you taking extra work or minor roles. They want you to have lead and supporting roles. My agent that I connected with told me don't take anything but lead and supporting roles, but she didn't give me any auditions. So I'm like, wait a minute, now I'm not working as an actor having this agent? I said, no. And I fired her right away. I said, no. Until you become a hot commodity, where everybody wants to cast you, you pick up any role that you cannot take.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So unless directors are demanding the agent to cast you.
Yes. And there are some out there like that.
B-list or even an A-list. Until you reach that status, you want to pick up anything you can to get your exposure out there. Right?
Right. I always like to tell her. I always like to joke about me. I was like, I'm on the C- list if I'm lucky. I've done a lot of different stuff, but obviously I've been tied to it.
It's funny that you talk about luck, though.
Yeah.
Because luck, it's all about luck.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it is.
But the harder you work, the more exposed you are to the luck.
Yeah.
That's the key to it.
Yeah, it's true. Got a lot of comment on that one. Yeah, I totally understand. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to tell us about before we finish out the interview for today?
Sure. Actually, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Facebook, Eric Lee Johnson. Also, Instagram at Funny Guy Johnson.
Okay.
I'm also on TikTok, Funny Guy Johnson. I don't know if they're going to ban TikTok today.
Right. I think that's going to be a constitutional thing. That may take some time to do all that.
Okay, I'm not gonna pay for promoting it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game. Yeah. But anyway, do you have all those links on your Facebook? Because I'm on your Facebook. If so, I'll take those.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at my bio, and under my bio, all the links are there. I even have a YouTube link also.
All right, I'll get all the.
I perform monologues. I do bits, and
Okay. I will.
Comedy fits and sets and
Awesome.
things like that. If you look at Aaron Lee Johnson on YouTube, I believe it's.
Yeah, I looked at. I've got it.
Johnson 007.
Yeah, I've got that one. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so all that is right there. You can look at. Listen, I try to put something up there every day, but I got tons of stuff on
Right.
TikTok and YouTube that I
Yeah.
constantly do.
Oh, I know. You can't do everything every day. Trust me, I tried that one time, but I used to drove me into the ground. So I totally get where you're coming from. But I will go and get all the links before I put the show up, so I can go down and add them into the description of what the show is. I will have it up probably either later tonight or first thing in the morning. That's usually what I try to do. I try to get them up either the same night or first thing in the morning. I gotta be in White House, Tennessee tomorrow for some stuff dealing with taxes of all things. But we don't want to. But anyway.
When does the show air?
It will air either later tonight or first thing in the morning, and I will put it up on my page and the 13th Destiny page and usually the James Magnum Cook page. Those are usually the three locations that I will put it up on as far as Facebook goes, and then it will be on, of course, Spotify is our main, and then it goes to all the others. It's on everything except to iTunes. It's the only thing that we're not on as of yet. Everything else we are pretty much on, so you've got everything from Spotify to Amazon to TuneIn. It's out there. You can pretty much find the 13th Destiny podcast now. We've kind of increased a little bit, so yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. But you're on my Facebook, so it shouldn't be a problem to find the episode, and I will get it up and as quickly as possible. Like I said, I'm going to try to get it on. Do what now?
Send me a shout out,
I will.
Like what you did earlier, where you put my name on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then I can share it. I can post it on my social media.
Absolutely, we would love to. Well, Aaron, it's been great having you on the show today. I'm sorry that Danielle wasn't here. It's a little more, sometimes I like to joke it's a little bit more fun having Danielle with us, but she did get tied up with stuff, and every once in a while that happens with her. But anyway, it's great to have you here, and maybe we'll have you back again at some point when things go along a little bit more, and maybe when the film comes out. I'll keep everything here and keep watching and see how your career progresses. Thank you so much.
Yes, definitely.
All right, have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day now.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, that was Aaron Lee Johnson, and he is an up-and-coming actor and comedian, and, of course, you just heard everything that we talked about. Pretty daggone good show. Having some things in common there with Mr. Johnson. I will get the show up later this evening or first thing Tuesday morning, as I have mentioned. Anyway, thank you for being here at the 13 Destiny Podcast. Be sure to remember to subscribe, all that good stuff. Like us. We're on. We also have the 13th Destiny podcast page on Facebook. You can also reach us at the 13th Destiny Podcast at Gmail. Both Danielle and myself have access to that email. So just wanted to let you know that. And if you want to be a guest on the show, reach out to us. Aaron reached out to us, and it was great to have him on. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. He had some very great insight. And this is James Magnum Cook, your host, closing out. Have a great day. God bless all of you.